listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Grammer. Wounded Warrior Project supports injured veterans by connecting them with fellow warriors, by serving them through mental health and wellness programs, and by empowering them to live on their own terms. No one should face a battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed, support causes that matter, change lives, change communities, change the world. Visit lionsclubs.org to learn more.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're fighting against childhood cancer every day. At the heart of this battle are our donors.
Most of us want to make some type of difference in the lives of others. St. Jude does miraculous work.
The fact that no one has to pay, it's a place where everyone is treated as an equal.
Everybody is welcome here, and it doesn't matter your religion or what part of the world you're from. All that is taken away. It just gives you some hope.
It's just a nice feeling to put your energy into something that really does genuinely make a difference in a child's life.
There's just no greater gift. If we have the ability to help, then we have a responsibility to help.
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Find out how you can help at stjude.org.
To battle is to fight, to struggle, to overcome, and ultimately for the Marine Corps, it means to win. There is no alternative. It's not just a statement of intent. It's a promise to our nation. A promise kept for more than 2 centuries. A promise of the Marines.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
Hi, my name is Jackie Lovezzo. I'm from Lake Katrine, and I support the Kingston Community Radio because it is an invaluable resource to the community and its residents.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Okay, we're back. We're on. We're here. Good morning.
Oh, yeah.
No, we're on the air. Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Well, I know that. I got that.
Because Dan's not here today. Dan's been on vacation.
Good morning, Lawrence, and good morning to everyone listening to the show. This is Donald Williams. You're co-hosting with the owner.
Well, half part, vice president, we'll say.
Himself, Lawrence Maxwell. Good morning, Lawrence.
Good morning, Don. How are you?
I'm doing as well as I possibly can. You know, every morning I wake up, it's a damn good morning. You know that?
That's a good thing.
I hope I didn't say something improper.
Damn is
Lawrence.
fine.
Okay.
You just can't say the S word or the F word. Or
I don't want YouTube cancel us.
No, we already got Ustream. We already got Ustream ready to go just in case there's Uncle Joe comments or something like that.
What is Ustream?
Ustream is it's like a version of YouTube, but you pay for it, and you can say whatever you want. They're not into the cancel culture thing, so
whatever you want.
I mean, you can't curse or anything, but it's like having like a blog or whatever.
Are you capable or willing to talk about what happened?
I can. I'd like to stay.
Take the high road.
No, I'd like to stay on YouTube for as long as possible before I give my credit card back to Ustream. We were on Ustream prior to my father passing away, And at the time, when my dad did pass away, we weren't in a position like we are now. We didn't have a lot of underwriters. We didn't have a lot of underwriters. We didn't have the kind of money that we raised, like through the help of Bob Circusano and Greg Chorvis and other, people that help us out here. And we weren't in a position to afford the $149 that it costs for Ustream. Now we're in a position to do that. So we went to YouTube 6 years ago, and a different guy was in office then. And you could pretty much say whatever you wanted up until a certain point, and not really. I mean,
you were advancing an opinion.
That's it.
Perhaps
I wasn't stating a fact. I made a comment, and I promised YouTube I would never make the comment again. That's how we got back on the
good for you.
The stream.
Good.
I almost slipped last Friday when me and Dan Gruner were on, but I bit my tongue.
How did that? The subject of the president come up?
We were talking about Ukraine, and we were talking about the price of gas, and
Has the price of gas going up?
Yeah.
Well, that's all Putin's fault.
How many miles?
I heard Jen Psaki.
That's not true, though.
No, I'm just saying that Jen Psaki. What?
She did
Jen
say that.
Psaki
Yeah,
say something that's not true?
She is. Yeah.
I'm not trying to bait you into getting.
No, it's okay. It's fine. I'm not a big Biden fan, and I don't really agree with much of the stuff he says. However, when it comes to this Ukraine thing, and I was pretty moved by did you watch the Zelensky speech yesterday? I thought that was pretty moving. But, Ukraine is not a member of NATO. So
not as a result of their lack of interest. They've been trying to become members of NATO for many years.
So why did
Well, that's a real good question.
Why did the administration shut
I
them
can
down
speculate. I never was allowed to speculate when I was DA or judge. I can do it now.
You can do it now.
It is, I think it is because of the fact that there are other member nations, such as Germany, that did not want Ukraine to be part of NATO because Russia.
So other member
nations. And it's really I'm not sure if it has to be unanimous, but I don't think anybody would be accepted unless all of the countries agreed. And there are countries such as Germany that rely heavily
on Russia
for
oil.
Natural gas and oil. I think natural gas is 40 to 50% of what they consume on a yearly basis. So they knew Russia did not want Ukraine in it. And I think as a result of that, some of the countries that rely heavily, and many of them do in Europe, upon Russia for oil, and would be facing the issue of trying to get other oil or gas in.
Right.
I think they were opposing it. Now, the reason it advanced was because Ukraine had and there was corruption in Ukraine, but parenthetically, what government doesn't have?
I was going to say there's corruption in America, so I mean, let's not.
I'm sure the corruption was significantly greater.
Right. I'm not saying that.
Or at least it was
sure
hidden better, but
right.
But there are reasons advanced that appear to be legitimate reasons that Ukraine could not get in, but Ukraine was attempting to get in for a significant period of time. And what would have happened had they been a NATO member now? Well, maybe perhaps Putin would not have invaded. Putin would not have committed this special military operation. Do you believe that stuff?
He is, I don't want to, ruffle any feathers with any listeners or with any, people in the past that went through, especially, Jewish people of faith. But he seems like a modern day Hitler. This guy, he's like a complete idiot.
If more people should be concerned with history, we're not.
I'm telling you, this guy is like,
because you can learn so much. If you look at the rise of Hitler and the Third Reich, it virtually mirrors exactly what is happening now with Russia. Hitler, after World War II, Germany truly suffered.
Right.
And they were embarrassed, humiliated as a result of that suffering after losing World War I. And Hitler came in and became a real nationalist. And they did exactly the same thing, first annexing the Austria-Hungary area.
That's yeah.
Then I think
you were such a history buff, Don.
I was a double major in undergraduate school. Or it's history, believe it or not, and the other
And law.
No. History and philosophy.
Philosophy. Wow.
People don't know the depth of my character, Lawrence.
And yeah, you became a lawyer. You know,
I'm going to tell you right now,
a DA and a judge.
I'm going to tell you right now that.
So you had when you went to school, when you went to college,
Catholic school, Seton Hall. I
Right,
went there
so
thinking I was going to play basketball.
Right. And then you started playing with guys that were almost 7 feet, and
it wasn't just that. I was playing. I actually played a little freshman ball. Blew my knee out.
Oh, that's what it
I
was.
was not good enough. I was a good basketball player.
You got a scholarship to go to Seton Hall, or
partial scholarship.
So Seton Hall is a good school.
It was even a good school then. It's a good school, but it was also a good basketball school. But those guys, honestly, I was pretty good for high school level.
Right. Now, did they make it into the dance this year?
Yes, they did. They play tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, and who did they get in the first round? Oh, they're seeded eighth.
Eighth. They have an eight seed. They play the 9 seed. I can't remember the name of it, but I do know they're on at 9:45. So I'm going to try to sleep late tonight,
so you can get up for that.
Get up there so I can watch that.
Yeah,
it's not as easy to watch those 10 o'clock games.
No, the Knicks started at 7:30 last night, and I was like almost falling asleep at the end of that game, and they got done at like 10:15.
Yeah, they played a poor team last night, so.
They did. The over-under in that, well, Damian Lillard wasn't playing.
What do you mean over and under?
Over and under, the total score of the game was.
Is that a gambling term?
It is a gambling term.
Why would you possibly think that this man who was DA and a judge would know a gambling term?
Know a gambling term. That's true.
Only because
gambling's legal now in New York. Since there's a lot of things that have changed since you left the bench. Gambling's legal. Marijuana's legal.
I think gambling may have been legal. No, it was not legal.
No, it wasn't legal. Left. Now you can do it. I mean, I don't do it. But right before the Super Bowl, no, actually it was long before the Super Bowl, I started getting the app on my phone. I think it was in the new year. It must have been, it was definitely before the Super Bowl, but you can bet right on your phone right now.
The proper way of saying it is not I can bet on my phone, but one
person can bet. No, I don't gamble either. I actually learned, I'm sure you've seen them, the football tickets that go around town. Everybody's got them.
Sure.
You circle them out. You give the guy $5.
It used to say for entertainment purposes only.
Right. No, it has a big bold thing, and we all know what they are. The odds are on the back. But it would say for, entertainment purposes only. This is not, this isn't for gambling or whatever. You would pick your 3 teams, give the guy $10, and pray that all 3 teams covered or whatever, and then win $100. So back when I was in my early 20s, when I first started working for the radio station, I had a friend that had tickets and so forth, and I learned. Instead of sparing everyone the details of the story, I learned my lesson early on that gambling is not for me. So I never Then I learned when I got older. Late 20s, early 30s, I should say, when I moved to Florida, someone told me how to handicap horses. So a couple times a year.
That could be far more interesting, right?
Well, it's actually, I like to read a lot, and I like to read newspapers, and that's where I kind of fell in love with it, because to handicap a horse properly, it takes you about 5 or 10 minutes just to read about the horse, about where he's coming from, who his mommy and daddy is, where he's bred, what kind of dirt he runs on, if he likes grass better, if he likes a Snickers bar in the morning.
Kind of like the same process I used to use when I was DA to hire an assistant district attorney.
But I'm sure, that person actually spoke back to you. The horse can't say, hey, I'm going to win today, or anything like that. Or it's not like the Richard Dreyfuss movie where remember the horse winked at me.
Richard Dreyfuss, great actor. A good friend of mine.
Let It Ride. You ever see that movie, Let It Ride?
Probably. I just don't.
His wife that was in the movie, I forget her name. She was hilarious, too.
I remember him in 2 movies. It's so difficult to remember. The first one was Jaws. He was so good in Jaws.
Oh, the first one. Yeah.
The first Jaws.
I didn't like the other 3.
No, but the first Jaws was just great.
Yeah,
and I can remember every summer going somewhere to try swim in the ocean. I love the ocean.
That was supposed to be in
my mind.
A version of Cape Cod, I think. That was called...
oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what they were trying to portray, but it wasn't, though. Amity Island, it was
Amity
called.
Island,
Amity
yeah.
Island. Yeah, Jaws is
Cape
on
Cod
a lot.
or Long Island?
I don't know if Amity Island wasn't made up. That's a real name.
Oh, I don't know, but I'm just wondering if it was supposed to be Cape Cod or Long Island.
Some people.
But he was good in that, and then he was also good.
I liked him in What About Bob with Bill Murray, and
Bill Murray's a funny guy. Caddyshack. We're talking about movies today. How good. We went from Ukraine.
We're talking about a lot of things until David Clegg gets here.
Dave's not going to be here till 8:30.
I know, so you got an hour and 15
By the way,
minutes. I had a few
good guy to agree to come on.
Yeah, I'm glad he did.
We were scrambling.
I think
David agreed a while. He's agreed now, which is good for his office too. To send once a month, he'll send either he'll come himself or send one of his assistants. Remember, we had Elizabeth Kimoni Mills on.
Oh yeah, she was great.
On
she was
domestic
good.
violence.
Yeah, my mom liked her too. She was really good.
We had Felicia on, who was the cruelty to animals.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So it's. I tried to get the public defender on today, Ruth Boyer. I'm a little disappointed because
maybe she's out of town, or
I hope so.
Or maybe she's at the chamber breakfast like everyone else in Kingston
That's
today.
the problem. Everybody's at the chamber.
And that's probably what's. And Juan was going to come on, but.
And here I actually
it's not
wore
like
green. How about an Italian wearing green on?
Yeah, well, you said you had a little Irish in you. I thought
quarter Irish.
Yeah, quarter Irish. I'm 75%.
My grandmother on my father's side, her maiden name was Coogan.
Oh, Coogan.
That's a little Irish.
Yeah, Coogan.
My dad was Welsh and Irish. My mom 100% Italian.
Yes. Yeah, your mom was a great lady.
She was the best.
She lived pretty much right next door to my grandmother.
Born and raised right on Crown Street.
Right,
I was
yeah.
born and raised on Crown Street.
You were living there before my grandmother was, probably, right?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, because I don't think my grandmother moved there until 68.
Your grandma, I think, was two buildings. I was born in 53.
43 Crown is where my Gaga lived.
How do I remember this? 57 Crown was. I probably shouldn't be giving out my addresses.
Well, who you sold? Obviously, that's not your mom.
My mom passed.
And then you sold the house.
My brother had passed at the age of 53.
Oh God,
he was a good guy. Unlike he did not have an aggressive bone in his body. He was a pharmacist.
Was he your younger brother or old?
Middle. I was the baby.
Oh, you were the baby. Oh, Don was the baby.
My dad was a Don Senior, so I was Don Junior. Everybody back then calls me Donnie.
I remember when the day you were like, I prefer Don or Donald.
I
remember. And I was like, that's good because I prefer Lawrence and not Larry.
Do you ever hear Mike Bodden? Mike Bodden is like one of the foreknown, world-renowned forensic pathologists. He did the Kennedy. He went back in, I think it was called the Warren Commission, to restudy JFK's death. Wow. He did Tsar Peter when they filmed his, and he testified for the defense in the O.J. Simpson case. It was not one of the highest moments of, but he actually, I kind of befriended him, and after I handled, you remember I was Mike Kavanaugh made me the lead prosecutor in the Whitehurst case, the first death penalty case in New York State.
Was that the dude that was eating the food?
That's Königsberg. No, Whitehurst was the individual that abducted a young 7-year-old child just 3 blocks from where I live in uptown Kingston, and then assaulted her in ways I will not describe, Lawrence, and then murdered her. So it was 10 days after New York State had passed the death penalty. So Mike Kavanaugh said, we're going to seek the death penalty for this man for many reasons, including he so brutally murdered a child, an innocent, completely innocent child.
And what year was that? Well, you were ADA then?
I was chief assistant.
Well, it doesn't matter what year it was.
2001, I believe.
Okay, so the death penalty. When did they reinstate the death
2005.
penalty? Okay, did they reinstate the death penalty?
September 21st of 2005. How do I remember this?
I know it's not on the table
it was
now.
off the books.
Okay.
They passed it, but in order to get it passed, they had to cut deals with the very liberal assembly out of New York City, and it never had a chance of succeeding, because it had built-in provisions that were going to be found to be unconstitutional. So anyway, we did that, and I prosecuted that. I forgot where we were going with this. I feel like Joe Biden. In the mid of a sentence, I forgot what we were talking about. Don't say a word, Lawrence. We don't want to lose YouTube.
We're not. Well, if we do, we got Ustream, but.
Yeah, so that was we had the first death penalty case here.
And I take it that he got the death penalty because he probably deserved it.
At the end of it. You know something? I'm a Catholic, as you know, and I handled that case exclusively. Mike assigned it to me, and I've never seen that happen in the 40 years I've been affiliated with criminal justice in this area, but that was the only case I worked on, and I worked on that for 1.25 years. Ultimately, Mike decided after speaking closely with the family, the religious leaders in the community, and knowing that the chances of our succeeding on appeal, not a trial, we were convinced we'd win when the case went to trial, but that because of the built-in appellate issues, legal issues with the legislation itself, we would not succeed. Under those circumstances, he offered a plea to murder in the first degree with life in prison without any chance of parole. So this individual will be in prison for the rest of his life, and candidly, richly deserved. But that may have been one of the most difficult things that I've done as a prosecutor, was to handle that case, because I'm a Catholic, and there's no greater gift that we have in life than life itself. And I literally worked that case because there was something called the Capital Defender Office, Lawrence, that was put together, and rightfully so, but to pass the legislation, a great deal of compromises had to be made to get it past the liberal New York City Assembly. One of them was to create an entirely separate organization that highly trained lawyers, defense attorneys, would represent individuals charged with death penalty cases. And when we had the very first one in New York State, 10 days later, September 21st, was the date that Raquel was savagely murdered.
Yeah, that's...
And they ended up...
They
had
the
10 lawyers working on the case.
Now, that was...
He got life without parole.
Larry Kithcart.
Larry Whitehurst.
Oh, Whitehurst, I'm sorry.
Don't say poor Larry Kithcart.
No, I'm sorry. I don't know what made me say that name.
Yeah, it's Larry.
Wait. Okay, well, that doesn't...
Larry Whitehurst.
Yeah, Larry Whitehurst.
So,
Larry Kithcart is an older fellow, wears a cowboy hat. Used to see him in Stella.
I knew Larry Kithcart. That was, I think, George Kithcart. Larry was smaller. That was Larry's brother that wore the cowboy hat all the time.
Oh, the one I used to see in Little Italy. Nicest guy ever, small dude.
Larry, yes. Larry, I think, might have been a county legislator, smaller, a little heavier, also real good guy. I think he hired me as a lifeguard maintenance man, along with Andy Murphy at Kingston Point Beach when I was first at Seton Hall. But anyway, they had 10 lawyers working the case, and what they were trying to do, Lawrence, was bury the Ulster County DA's office with paperwork so that we then would tell other similar medium to small size offices that if you elect to pursue the death penalty, you're going to lose at least one or two full-time assistants from their ordinary responsibilities because we're going to bury you with paperwork. And I remember doing the preliminary hearing, which is a very basic hearing that you have to go through before going to grand jury if you want to keep somebody incarcerated. And they sent a really good defense attorney, I believe his name was Mark Harris, who was an Albany County public defender and chief assistant district attorney. But both Mark and I were not, we were well-versed in litigating cases, but we weren't well-versed in handling the New York City media.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously, this got statewide and nationwide attention.
Yes.
So we're going to do the preliminary hearing. And after the preliminary hearing was over, they interviewed both Mark and me. And they asked Mark, why are there so many lawyers doing this? Why are you so focused on this case? And of course, Mark said the proper thing, this is a man's life.
Right.
But he said, secondly, what is your goal? What's your real objective? And he said, our objective is to make Don Williams so miserable.
He said that?
Again, we were not well versed in handling the media.
They
miserable.
were actually trying to do that.
Yes, so miserable.
But they didn't know that you were a double major in history and philosophy, so they had no shot.
Had they known that, and a walk-on part scholar.
That's right. And a walk-on freshman basketball player.
But Mark was a good guy. Anyway, so he said that we want to make him so miserable that he will be telling other chief assistants don't let your boss elect for the death penalty. Of course, my response, being a novice in handling the New York City media, when I heard he said that, they of course bring that to your attention immediately to get you into a fight. And I said, Mr. Harris said that? Yes. I said, I'm a prosecutor. I was born miserable. And I thought that was so brilliant until I got back to the office. And the next day, Kavanaugh read it and grabbed me by the ear and said, you won't be talking to the press for a little bit.
Well,
so then I was
mad though at you, or I mean,
well, let me put it this way.
I mean, well,
Mike may never say he's angry, but he has
his body language.
He's like 100% Irish.
Yeah, oh, I know. I
eyes
spent many years at Caldwell with him, and
his eyes would just
Mike and Megan, and what was his wife's name?
Marilyn.
Marilyn.
What a great lady.
That's right. They all had M's in their name.
I didn't.
Michael, Megan.
What was
Mike, Megan? Well,
And in
Mike,
fact,
Mike
I think
Jr.,
the-
Megan, and Marilyn.
I think the dogs.
Oh, come on, Maddie.
I can't
dog's name
remember
had
the
M's
dog's
too?
name.
I knew a family in Florida, 9 of them, a husband, a wife, and their 7 children, all with the names L.
One of my good friends, who was my first campaign chairman, the campaign manager, was Alan DeForest.
I know, yeah, really.
He's a great guy, very successful in business. He had 2 brothers, and they had a dog. Alan was the first child. Barry was the second child. Craig was the third child. The dog's name was Duchess.
So the dog's name is Dog.
Thank God they didn't get down to Z. But
yeah, right. Now, real quick before we go to
Yeah.
break, and I'll make sure we take a long break because I need some more coffee. Since we're speaking about criminal stuff, and the reason I had mentioned this other name before, and I'm pretty sure you remember this case, you weren't judged yet. You remember the guy, and I won't use the term hooker, but remember the guy that was burying sex workers, should we say, to be the right term, in his basement on Clinton Avenue? So one day I'm driving down Clinton Avenue, and I think I'm in high school at the time, or right out of high school. We don't have to say the guy's name that was accused, but that's what made me say this other name before. So I'm getting off of school, and I think I got to be in 11th grade, 12th grade. I mean, this is early 90s maybe. I don't know. Maybe you can remember the case.
I don't know.
Because there was a few of them
The
there.
one that was burying women allegedly of ill repute, that was Dutchess County.
No, the one that
the
was
person that buried an individual in Ulster County was Larry Whitehurst. That was a separate victim.
Oh,
That was
okay.
on Clinton Avenue.
Right, it was right in the corner of Clinton and Henry.
At the residence he was living in with his brother.
Okay.
Yes, that was Larry Whitehurst.
Okay,
I
that's
will
what
not
made me
mention
say that.
victim's
Oh, that
name.
was okay. So that was the same thing. That was Larry Whitehurst, the same one who killed Raquel.
Yes.
Okay.
That was Thanksgiving Day.
Oh, that was a Thanksgiving Day?
Well, we don't know exactly.
So anyway, my point is I'm driving. I have a few friends in my car, and I had a Chevy Spectrum at the time, like 2-door, 4-speed. I mean, it was one of my first cars, and you don't see eyewitness news. You don't see news vans from New York City in Kingston. They had the whole street blocked off with like people out. It looked like
that was because
it was like I was like, what the heck is going on here? They're like, the cop, the police are out there, turn around.
that
go
was
back.
because they knew this was Larry Whitehurst's residence after.
Oh, okay. This was all after
being
the fact.
investigated significantly after Whitehurst was charged with murder in the first degree for Raquel Knox.
Oh, okay. So this is because that happened afterwards. Okay.
Remember that Thanksgiving Day?
Okay.
I was sent out.
Yeah.
And Mike Kavanaugh was away.
So now, was the death penalty in effect when you sentenced him?
The death
Or was
penalty
it-
was in effect, but Mike Kavanaugh, as district attorney, had the discretion.
He just said life.
He said under the circumstances, and he said the family really had enough.
Yeah, I bet.
And they knew that they would
The
have
girl
to,
was like, what was she like?
7 years old.
Oh my God. That's
And they knew that they'd have to relive the ordeal for a lengthy trial. There was really a need. I hate this.
Oh, so he
term.
copped to the plea. You guys never went. He pled to that. He pled out.
Guilty to murder in the first degree, which is what he was charged
Right, well,
with.
that's an A1 felony.
Murder in the second degree is also an A1 felony.
Oh, it
but
is.
Murder in the first degree, they're both have the same preliminary element, which is the intentional killing of another human being. That's murder second. To go to murder first, you then have to have an additional aggravating factor. For example, a child less than 12 years old.
Oh, okay.
Or killing a police officer or fireman.
So if it was somebody that was not as young as poor Raquel, he would have probably might be out today because
it would have been murder in the second degree.
Right.
Unless there was some other aggravating fact. If you commit murder and you do it while you're torturing the individual. There are several different elements that are called aggravating factors. That's not what was alleged with Raquel.
Yeah, that's a very
age, and he had
how many years? So that was in the 90s, right? That was.
I believe it was 2005.
No. No, it couldn't have been 2005.
No, it couldn't have.
No, it couldn't have been because I was.
It was 1995.
Yes, I was still in
1995.
Yes, I was just either right out of high school or
September 21st of 1995.
Yes, that sounds more like it. Yes. All right, so I'm going to go in the other room. We'll go to break.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll take some calls for the 7:30 hour.
Time for another coffee.
Yeah, time for another coffee. I'm sure George Post will want to call me.
We also have a birthday. Don't forget. We do.
We got a birthday in there?
Unless that was last
We haven't had birthdays since Monday, so I'm sure the listeners will be happy to hear that.
Thursday file.
All right.
Maybe the person will win 2 cow pies.
All right. So we'll be back in a minute, folks.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Have you ever experienced a wish come true? For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one adventure, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant the wish of every eligible child. Visit wish.org now to help grant more life-changing wishes. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Grammer. Wounded Warrior Project supports injured veterans by connecting them with fellow warriors, by serving them through mental health and wellness programs, and by empowering them to live on their own terms. No one should face a battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
This is the story of Daniel, who was born 2 months early. His lungs weren't ready. His heart wasn't ready. His parents could only hope that one day he would leave the hospital healthy, and they would all live happily ever after. Daniel's is just one of the more than 500,000 stories of babies born prematurely last year. You can help the March of Dimes stop premature birth and bring more babies home healthy. Learn how at marchofdimes.com. Working together for stronger, healthier babies.
Everyone is talking about healthcare these days. America spends twice that of other developed countries on our healthcare system, yet our health ranks near the bottom. How can we stop spending so much and getting so little? By shifting to a system that gives more patients access to strong primary care. Primary care can help make America healthy again. To learn more about the benefits of primary care, visit www.healthisprimary.org. This message is brought to you by America's Family Physicians.
On top of first-class care, you will never receive a bill. The only thing we had to worry about was just keeping Azalea comfortable. St. Jude saved her life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
There was this one time I went snorkeling in the Caribbean when I was a kid. It really just blew my mind. We saw the most beautiful corals. I remember thinking they were waving at us as they moved with the ocean. And then there were all these amazing fish. I'll never forget it. It completely changed the way I look at the ocean.
Most of us have a memory of being in nature we'll never forget. Let's protect the world's natural places so more memories can be made for generations to come. Visit worldwildlife.org.
Question: what will you find on all over-the-counter or OTC medicine packages to help you choose the right drug and use it safely? The answer: the Drug Facts label. This label lists the medicine's active ingredients and purpose, how much to take, and warnings you should know before using it. Remember, even OTC medicines you buy without a prescription can cause side effects you don't want. So follow the information listed on the Drug Facts label. For more information, visit fda.gov/Drug Facts label. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Hi, this is Jared Mans from the Spring Lake Fire Department, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This programming is brought to you by the Friends of Kevin Cahill. As a strong advocate of local broadcasting, Assemblymember Cahill urges you to support Kingston Community Radio with your time and donations. Your contributions keep KCR vital and on the air at FM 92.5, AM 920, and on the web at mykcr.org. Please join Assemblymember Cahill and send your gifts of $10, $25, or more to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. Together, let's keep KCR alive.
Okay, we're back. So also some other good news here at KCR. We're having a breakfast on March 29th at the Kingston Elks Lodge 550 at 143 Hurley Avenue.
What's that about, Lawrence? That's 2 days after my birthday.
Oh, so you're going to have to be there. All the hosts and cops eat for free. So
I would go there and give my support.
But the awesome thing about it is it's $10 for the public. There's plenty of room, plenty of food, all you can eat for $10. Eggs, bacon, sausage, pancakes, coffee,
you said
juice,
the
tea.
American Legion?
American Legion, right next to, right on Hurley Avenue, right a couple doors down from Daly Freeman. You know,
yes.
Yeah, it's not far at all.
We're
going to, Cameron Rylance and Nina Postback will be broadcasting their show live from there. But yesterday, while we were on the air, Bob Circusano, the awesome man that he is and the generous man that he is, said for every person that shows up and pays $10, he'll match it and make a donation to Kingston Community Radio.
He's a good guy.
Thank you to Bob Circusano and his wonderful wife who are huge supporters of our radio station. And without the two of them and people like Greg Chorvis and all the other people that help us, we would not be on the air. So thanks to them. Now, on another note, yesterday our wonderful engineer, Paul Thirst, came in and fixed our phone system. So when we had an ice storm, you remember the ice storm?
Yes.
We were out of power here for 4 days. We actually weren't on the air that Friday and that Monday. Well, what it did was it knocked all our gain levels and stuff got knocked back to zero, and me and Dan could not figure out how to get this stuff back to normal. So I had to get an engineer in here. It took him about an hour. He fixed it. So now I want to take a call. So George Post, please call me now so I can adjust the levels and make sure this thing works good.
I recall
know George is listening.
Last show we did, Lawrence, somebody tried to call in and we could hear them.
And they couldn't hear you.
They couldn't hear us.
Now that is fixed.
Great.
And I want to make sure that is working good. So George, if you got a minute, there he is. Hang on. What's up, buddy? Hang on a second. I want to make sure this is working. You got 15 minutes, right? All right, good. All right, can you hear us?
Mr. Post, how are you this morning?
I'm very good, Your Honor, and yourself?
I'm doing as well as I possibly can. I think life is entirely too good to me, Mr. Post. It's good to hear you.
You call me George.
Oh, thank you.
George, can you hear us loud and clear? Does it sound better than it used to?
Yeah, it sounds a lot better. I can hear you guys good coming through the phone now.
Great.
Because Don doesn't talk as loud as me, so.
Yeah, I've always been accused, Mr. And I'm going to call you Mr. Post because my dad, Mr. Post, who was a frogman in World War II, by the way.
He might not like Mr. Post, just like you don't like Donnie.
Would you prefer I call you by your first name, Mr. Post?
You can call me George.
All right, I will, George. My dad always taught me, and we don't teach that enough with our kids anymore. We've lost that when anyone is your age or older, you refer to them as Mr., Miss, or Mrs.
I think you guys are the same age.
Right. Yep.
George is a young dude, bro.
I'm probably close to your age. I'm going to be 69 in July.
George, March 29th, I'm going to be 69.
Oh, you guys are going to have to have
We
a
were
party.
born, so you were born in 53 or 50?
Yep, 53.
53 was a great year, wasn't it, George?
Yes, it was.
Not as good as 72.
I used to tell that to my
Bastille Day.
I used to tell that to my mom and dad. My mom would be a big grin on her face, and my dad would be just shaking his head no.
So what year did you graduate Kingston High School?
Oh, 71?
God, you graduated high school before I was born.
71.
So and then you went to the Hall and graduated at 75?
1975, went to Albany Law School and graduated 1978. Got admitted to practice law in New York State on January 1st of 79, and I started as a full-time assistant DA the next day, January 2nd. So.
Now, did you know did you know Mike then, and did you have that all lined up?
Didn't know Mike at all. In fact, when I went to college, George and Lawrence, my true goal and objective in life was either to be a marine biologist or
that would have been an interesting
or
job.
to teach history or philosophy.
Yeah.
But I was convinced by my mom, God rest her soul, that because of my, in her opinion, persuasive skills, my dad would say it was his arguing, but my mom would say persuasive skills, that I should be a lawyer.
Really?
I ended up, George, coming out of law school, not knowing what I was going to do, and Mike Kavanaugh, I interviewed with Mike, Albany Law. I interviewed with Mike Kavanaugh. I had no idea why, but he hired me. I think it was because he saw my basketball background. Mike was a very competitive athlete.
Yeah, he was.
He saw that I never played tennis until I
he was a big tennis player.
He was a big
he used to play at Cal-Bar. He was very good.
I had Ron Woods, the local commissioner, taught me tennis my senior year in high school after I'd blown my knee out. And ended up teaching tennis, helped me pay for my law school and college. So, anyway.
Good, very good, yes.
So, George, what's up with the American Legion?
We're going to try to do our parade here in the town of Esopus on Memorial Day this year.
Okay,
and,
good. We're, Kingston Lions Club is in on that, too, this year, so maybe I'll see you there.
Good, because I tell you what, we definitely could use a band because we normally would get the middle school band, right? And they moved over to Bailey, and I spoke with the band director over there this past week, and they don't march anymore.
Well, we don't march either because our members
I
are
know, but I mean
20 years older than you. But they still have a band. We actually put them on a big float, and they can still play.
Good, great, good.
They're very good. Dory Dabney is actually the leader of it, and he's going to be 94 this year, and he can still play the sax like Fats Domino didn't play the sax.
Dory served. He's a member of the Legion, is he not?
George?
Do
not know.
You know if Dory Dabney?
He might be out of Kingston. I'm out of the...
He actually lives in Woodstock.
Oh, okay. Then, yeah, he could be a member of the Woodstock Post up there.
Okay. George, where did you serve?
I graduated Marlboro High School back in 1971.
No, in the armed services.
And then before I graduated, I went in on the early enlisted in the Marine Corps.
Oh, God bless you.
And then I graduated in June, and then July 28th, I was on my way down to Paris Island.
Did you end up in Vietnam, George?
Nope, I was in the Vietnam era and stuff. The closest I got to Vietnam was Okinawa.
Oh, wow.
I was on Okinawa in 1973. And the outfit I was with the VMG.
What is that, George?
252. It's a KC-130 outfit.
Okay.
And our planes did fly to Vietnam and stuff, and we was at Marine Corps Air Station Fatima, Okinawa.
Okay. My dad, obviously, I think I said he was a frogman.
Right.
Frogman in World War II. One of the frogmen, that precursor Navy SEAL.
Oh, okay.
They were the individuals that they didn't have all the sophisticated scuba gear.
Right.
But
Not
they
like
would
today.
be sent in the day before a beach invasion, and they would clear the obstacles out by blowing.
Wow.
I mean, really, really. And my dad never, George, because he saw war in its worst possible condition, but he would never speak to me about his experiences in World War II. He was a strong, tough individual.
Maybe there's some things over there that he just didn't want to relive.
So it's exactly what it was. One of the beach landings was Okinawa. When you were there, George, how did the people from Okinawa receive you?
I never really noticed anything bad with them and stuff, and by that time, I guess the feelings of the war was over, and I kind of stayed on base and stuff. I didn't get out in town that much, and just kind of was waiting for my year to get over.
Yeah. If I can grab you about two related issues about that. First, George, have you seen the series? It's been out for a long time. Band of Brothers.
Yeah, that was great. Didn't Tom Hanks write that? Yeah.
Portions of it, yes.
Oh, George, you got to watch the whole thing. And I made my son, who's now 30, watch it with me. People in my son's generation especially just do not realize what our forefathers, what our parents, and in some point grandparents went through. So I know it's an overused term, so we can enjoy the freedoms we have today. Which brings us, so I really strongly recommend that any parent out there have their kids watch Band of Brothers. It is
good.
Just amazing.
Didn't Tom Hanks write that?
I think Tom Hanks wrote that. I think also with Spielberg. Didn't he?
No, it was on HBO, right?
You can get it on Netflix.
It was an HBO series. It's been on for a while. It's really good.
Right, which brings us to this is great having you, George. You didn't know you were going to be a guest this morning.
He's our go-to guy.
Everybody's at the St. Patty's Day.
You two will be able to meet him in a couple of weeks.
Oh,
that's
breakfast, fantastic.
Because George never misses an event. So.
Well, George, the second, if I could seize this opportunity, how do you feel about what is happening in Ukraine, and especially, I think the correct pronunciation is their president Zelensky and his presentation.
Like with the speech
Congress
yesterday, yes. What's your take on that?
I tell you what, that guy is a fantastic leader. He's a fantastic motivator of his people, and I'm a little bit disappointed with our country response and the world's response.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, I'm not a big Uncle Joe fan, and I slam him every chance I can get. But do you think if he goes over there and he helps them, do you think that would start a world war? Because a lot of people I usually don't stick up for this guy because I can't stand him. But I don't want to say I agree with him. I mean, I don't want to see innocent people die, especially when I'm watching on the news. It's terrible. But
yeah, George, how do you feel?
They aren't a member of NATO, correct?
They are not. No. Although our vice president wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, she's not aware of much.
That's sad.
She's got no clue. She's clueless.
Hopefully we won't get banned for that.
She's a bright lady.
I know. Yeah. When I read her credentials, I was like, God,
being the DA of San Francisco is not.
No, but her schooling, she's.
Was she DA of San Francisco or Attorney General of California?
She was the Attorney General of California, I think.
Well, that says it all right.
Yeah, that kind of sums it up, doesn't it?
She didn't do a great job being the border czar. So.
The border's a disgrace.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what. I agree with you.
Give us your take though on Ukraine,
on Zelensky and Ukraine, and especially George. I mean, you've seen things, although after World War II, but you've seen it personally firsthand as a member of the Marine Corps. What do you feel about, there is a risk. I mean, Putin and Russia have nuclear weapons. How far, he's a bully, and you got to call out a bully to their face, but how far do you think we should go in giving military aid to Ukraine that would be short of the real dilemma of creating World War III and possible nuclear disaster? What do you think?
I feel that we should give Ukraine everything that they need, because look at what happened in World War II.
Oh, absolutely.
Look at Hitler. I'm just going to go here, and then he went further.
Yeah, first it was Austria, then Czechoslovakia, then
wanted
Poland.
All of Europe. That was his goal. Period.
He wanted Europe. You're right, George. And then once literally pummeled the French without virtually one of the biggest armies in the world at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And when he ran over France, I think then he started thinking he wanted the world.
Right.
But and this is, if you look at the history of Hitler, he was saying exactly the same type of motivation, reasoning that Putin is saying now and going into Ukraine and Crimea, and it's just dangerous. But do you think we ought to have troops on the ground?
If it comes to that, yes, because I tell you what, if you don't stop him now, he will, his next step is to invade a NATO country, and you got to go then.
Yeah, I think first he'll do Moldova, which is not a NATO country, and then maybe, I doubt he'll attack Finland right away because they are a tough group of people, and I think he's having a very bad experience in Ukraine.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, at what point does Uncle Joe have to go in and shut this guy down? Because,
well, the key, what troubles, two things trouble me the most, George, and then tell me what you think. Number one is we should not be taking anything off of the table. To tell Putin we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that, that's just telling Putin, do what you want because we're not going to give a reprisal.
Right.
Right. And I tell you what, if he goes to chemical weapons, that is the point that we got to say enough is enough.
Yeah, like we did with Obama. Do you remember Obama in Syria? He drew the red line in the sand that was crossed over 2 times, and we did nothing?
You mean the apologetic tour that the guy went on?
He was the chief apologist of the United States. Every country he went to on his tour, he apologized for us. And he was an extremely bright man, a very good speaker. Yet I don't want to hear... Look, every nation has issues. We certainly have had issues. But we're constantly trying to get better. I don't want to hear the leader of our nation apologizing for our past.
Right. No, I tell you what, like they say, the best offense is a strong defense.
And then the best defense is a strong offense.
I wish the New York Giants would look at that terminology a little more.
Because I tell you what, if people know that you've got a great offensive capability, they're not going to mess with you. If you show weakness.
Let's oversimplify this and put it in what my prior realm was. As district attorney, as so many, unfortunately, DAs are doing now, if they tell potential criminals, we're not going to seek any form of incarceration if you break windows, commit riots, steal. If you do that, we're not seeking incarceration. It tells those bullies, those criminals, they go out and do it. You tell a bully that you're in a fight with, if you punch me in the face, I'm not going to punch back. What is the bully going to do? He's going to punch you in the face.
Right.
And telling Putin that we're not going to send troops in, we're not going to close the skies, we're not going to do anything that would bring us in any type of confrontation with Russia, he's giving him a license to commit the most horrible crimes against civilization that's possible. And he's doing it now. And I do understand you can't just go in carrying a big stick, as Teddy Roosevelt would say, because there is a real fear with this man that if he's cornered like the animal that he has shown that he is, that he may lash out in defense and use either chemical weapons or cause at least World War III. I understand that, and it has to be handled sensitively, but we can't be telling him what we're not going to do. What do you feel about that, George?
You cannot tell everybody what plans or what steps you're going to take. If you do this, you do that. You just make them think about the consequences that could happen if they do it.
Absolutely. And obviously I agree 100%. The other thing that is dangerous, George, and I don't know how you feel. Now, when I was an assistant DA, I was very open with the media, always available for their telephone calls, would never do anything to embarrass a victim, would never do anything, in my opinion, that would cause problems for community safety, but I told them everything I possibly could and was very honest about it. However, What in God's name are we doing? All these congressmen, senators, the president, the spokesperson, Psaki, all of the people were telling everything to the press that we're going to do and not going to do, including recently when the leaders of Poland, Slovenia, I've forgotten the third nation, traveled to Kyiv or Kiev. We actually told them when they were going, and we told them the method of transportation. That was public before they went there. What are we thinking? And what is the media thinking?
The media is just thinking about how I'm going to get a better story than the next outlet.
George, have you? It sounds like you've dealt with the media in the past, and that, unfortunately, so many times, some members of the media are more interested in getting a scoop and getting facts out than they are about the possible repercussions. And I fully understand the public should know, but there are certain things, such as the method of transportation of 3 leaders of NATO countries, how they're going to Kyiv, where there is a war going on, is not something the media needs to know, at least before it happens. And
Because you ever notice when one of our presidents would go over to our bases in Afghanistan or Iraq, you wouldn't, like around Thanksgiving and Christmas time, you would never hear about it until after the fact.
After the fact, different situation. But beforehand, the fact that we put the stop on those MiG fighter planes to be given from Poland to the Ukrainian people, I don't agree with that. I think we should be giving them MiGs. MiGs are no more offensive weapons when utilized within the Ukrainian country than some of the Stingers, some of the other methods that we are using to shoot down helicopters. They are the same offensive category, in my opinion. But whether we should give them or not is something that is beyond the purview of my knowledge of the facts. But the fact that we did or didn't should not be in the media. Why are we putting... I saw yesterday we listed all of the details and the number of weapons that we're now going to give under this $800 million gift. And other than the fact of politicians gaining their hour of fame in the media to list this stuff, why in God's name are we doing that? Yeah, it's interesting for all of us.
It's something you don't do. You don't show your hand. If you're playing poker, you keep your cards close to your chest, so to speak. And for us to be telling, right there, I'm looking, you don't put in watch and this and stuff. You tell them exactly everything that's coming, what we're going to do. You go give him a good idea where it's coming in from, where he can be able to hit the convoys and destroy them before they get there. You're telling the man everything, and it's just for that 5-minute news cycle that they have on TV. The worst thing that could happen to this country was having 2 or 3 stations with 24-hour news, because they have to have all kinds of stupid stuff to fill the time frame.
Yeah, something, you're absolutely right. I've had some limited some experience with New York City and the national media when I was district attorney. But at the same point, the social media, although it existed, it was not as popular as it is today. And you have all of these shows such as CNN and Fox and MSNBC, NPR. They're 24-hour news organizations, and they need something as filler. And that's unfortunate. Because although I love, as a member of the public, getting as much information as possible, because it's very hard, or we should not be giving too many opinions without knowing all the facts. I learned that as a judge especially. But at the same point, the public, before incidents occurred, should not know so much that puts the safety of individuals at jeopardy. And that's a dangerous proposition.
And I like to get all the bias out of the media that we have, because each one of those stations are slanted to their own point of view.
You know what I told Lawrence, and I probably ought to wrap this up, George, but I told Lawrence some time ago, I said, I watched CNN and I watched Fox News, and I go back and forth, and then I know that somewhere in the middle is where the truth lies.
I've actually added Spectrum News to that now.
Really?
Yeah, because I get a little bit more of a local sense, and lately watching Fox News, and they're just one-sided on everything.
Fox News is also one-sided.
Yeah, I mean, I like Fox News. It's on in my office right now.
Because you lean right of center. And
I do, but I'm more for, I'd rather have both parties working together to make this country, what it used to be.
You give
listen,
us
not
the
to cut you
facts.
short, George. We got to go to break. We got to do some commercials, do some birthdays. But thank you for calling in and giving us 20 minutes of your time today.
Oh, no problem. I listen to you guys just about every morning, so no problem at all.
Well, God bless you for that, George.
Yeah, and Don, it's a pleasure having you on the air.
Oh, thank
I
you.
look forward to you every time you're on, and thank you for your service as district attorney and also as judge.
Thank you, George. That means a great deal to me, more than you might imagine, because I miss it. I miss it. So thank you. And you
all right,
stay
George,
well.
have a good day, and we'll see you
soon.
at the breakfast next week.
Okay.
All right, have a great day.
In 2 weeks.
What do you say? I'm sorry.
2 weeks.
Oh, yeah. You're absolutely right. 2 weeks from the Tuesday that just passed.
What day of the week is that?
It is a Tuesday. It's March 29th from 7 to 9, Elks Lodge, 143 Hurley Avenue. George, have a great day.
Yep. Have a great day.
All right, take care, buddy.
Take
All
care,
right, we'll
George.
go to break, and then we'll come back with birthdays, and we'll be back in a few.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Grammer. Wounded Warrior Project supports injured veterans by connecting them with fellow warriors, by serving them through mental health and wellness programs, and by empowering them to live on their own terms. No one should face a battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed, support causes that matter, change lives, change communities, change the world. Visit lionsclubs.org to learn more.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're fighting against childhood cancer every day. At the heart of this battle are our donors.
Most of us want to make some type of difference in the lives of others. St. Jude does miraculous work.
The fact that no one has to pay, it's a place where everyone is treated as an equal.
Everybody is welcome here, and it doesn't matter your religion or what part of the world you're from, all that is taken away. It just gives you some hope.
It's just a nice feeling to put your energy into something that really does genuinely make a difference in a child's life.
There's just no greater gift. If we have the ability to help, then we have a responsibility to help.
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Find out how you can help at stjude.org.
To battle is to fight, to struggle, to overcome, and ultimately for the Marine Corps, it means to win. There is no alternative. It's not just a statement of intent. It's a promise to our nation. A promise kept for more than 2 centuries. A promise of the Marines.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
Hi, my name is Jackie Lovezzo. I'm from Lake Katrine, and I support the Kingston Community Radio because it is an invaluable resource to the community and its residents.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
In philosophy before he became a doctor. Anyway, we're back,
Russell
folks. It's
Siggers
birthday
probably
time.
did. Yeah, we have a birthday, and I have my glasses today. There are two people celebrating their birthday.
always leave a pair here.
I think this is for today. March 17th it is.
St. Patrick's Day.
We have two people, and here we go. I'm going to have you do the first one since I can barely read it.
Okay. Kimberly Richter. Happy birthday, Kimberly Richter. Love, family, and friends.
And I think it's have a glorious day.
I can't read
Have
that.
a glorious day.
I can't read that.
Nice.
Well, I'm going to go with have a glorious day.
Have a glorious day sounds good. And then we also have happy birthday wishes on today to Dan Schroede, Schroed. Is it Schroede or Schrodel?
Schroeder.
Schrodel.
Scarol.
Or an I or an L at the end. I hope I haven't mispronounced it completely. From his family and friends. So happy birthday, Dan.
Happy birthday, Dan. Happy birthday, Kimberly. And we'll throw them into the randomizer, or as we call it here at KCR, the Camdenizer.
The winner is.
Goes along with the bell. And the winner of today's Boyce Brother Milkhouse famous cow pie for March 17th is Kimberly Richter.
Oh, congratulations, Kimberly.
Happy birthday, Kimberly. You can go down to Boyce Brothers Milkhouse anytime after 9 a.m. and pick up your famous cow pie. They're delicious. I recommend the Butterfinger one.
I'm not quite sure how many calories are in that pie, but I have to admit, Kimberly, I ate it in 2 sittings by myself.
Really?
I love ice cream.
I know, but that's a big pie.
You eat,
me and
you
my
eat a
friend
wedge at a
Liam
time.
and my friend Augie, when we go fishing every May, go trout fishing every May, up to Lake George. It's right around Augie's birthday, and I usually put his name in for the birthday thing, and somehow, at least every once in a while, his name pops up on the Camdenizer, and no pun intended.
Why do you call this the Camdenizer?
Because Cam came up with this thing. He's like
Cam Rylance.
Cameron Rylance, yeah, the guy we had dinner with that one night.
Yeah.
And
his
he's
dad
like-
is
he's like-
his dad is Dave, correct?
His dad is Dave. Yeah. His mom is Elaine. They're great people. And I met Cam through Cowbar. Cam's 6 years older than me. So when you're 15, 16, 17, you don't hang out with people that are 6 years older than you. When you become older into your 20s, late 20s, early 30s, someone that's 6 years older than you is not really a big deal. But when you're young, and you're 16 years old and someone's 22, you're not hanging out with a 22-year-old. It just doesn't work that way. But then when you become, let's say, an adult and you're, now of age to hang out in watering holes, stuff like that, you become...
What's a watering hole?
A watering hole would be like a Stevens.
Is that what that was called?
The Stevens is a great place. Did you ever have the garlic steak sandwich there? Oh, I loved that thing.
His
brother, Keith used to be the cook there.
And then Keith, for a period of time, was the guy behind the seafood in ShopRites.
Oh, yeah. No, Keith was always a great cook, and I used to love the food at Stevens. And
I used to
used to start taking me there.
I would walk. I was a young
Yankee game
assistant
was always
DA.
on.
Young assistant DA making $15,000 a year.
Wow, that's what they paid you?
15. I got a merit raise after trying a couple of murder cases to $18,000. I'm paying off.
What year was that?
I was living with my mom. 79. I started.
That still was probably not too. I mean, it wasn't great. I mean,
no, 15,000 was not even a lot of money.
So when you met Ann, you were DA, or you were still ADA?
When I met Ann, who was my wife, who passed back in 2016, I was chief assistant. And I married Ann when I was 38 years old. I was single until 38.
Oh. Well, you were busy. You were working.
You know something,
You were
Larry?
playing the field.
I was not, no.
I'm kidding.
I was immersed with work. And even after getting married and having kids, I was immersed. My job consumed me.
Yeah. A good friend of mine, Mark Hakeem, didn't get married or have a kid until he was 49. He was working, he was busy. Paul, Steve, they used to all Twin Lakes. Yeah, the younger one, Mark, the baby, just like you, of the family. He didn't meet the right woman until you know, one he wanted to settle down with until he was like 48. They got married when he was 49. He had a kid when he was 50. He's 54 now.
The baby of the family. Now you reminded me. It's how the 68 or soon to be 69-year-old mind works. You reminded me what I was saying.
Cam always refers to the youngest of the family. He's the baby of the family.
And when you're the district attorney, being called the baby
Right,
of the
that doesn't
family,
work. That doesn't work.
And this is where I was going with Dr. Bodden. He has his own show on HBO. I've forgotten what
Really?
the name. Oh, this is a famous guy and a great forensic pathologist. After the death penalty case that I handled, he asked me to speak to the annual meeting of the medical examiners in Manhattan. And it was a big conference. And he asked me to come down. I was a little reluctant, but I did it. I went down to speak to him, and he got up. And this is a guy that really is world-renowned. And just the fact that he would ask me to give a presentation to them, I was flattered. I was just an assistant DA. He introduces me, and he introduces me as talking about what I did as a young assistant DA, first death penalty case of New York State, all of my successes, all of the cases that he and I worked together on, and then he says, the hard-charging Chief Assistant District Attorney of Ulster County, my friend Donnie Williams. And, I said,
Oh, man. Everything was perfect.
Everything
So
was
you said
really
Donnie.
good. And then I said, well, I just, first of all, I want to, I'm honored to speak here today, and I would like to also thank my good friend, Mikey Bodden. Brought some laughter.
Did he shoot
he
you a
laughed.
look after
He
the
laughed.
Mikey? Or
He
because some
laughed.
people don't like,
He was,
I'm not a-
what a guy.
I'm not a particularly big fan of the Larry name either.
In fact, I tell too many stories. So here
Well,
with
that's-
your
that's
mom
why
the
you're
other
here.
day. That case you were talking about, that poor young woman that was found buried in the house on Clinton Avenue.
Yeah.
Mike Bodden, Mike Kavanaugh, the DA, was away. I'm chief assistant. Jim Riggins, the chief of police, was away. It was Paul Watzke's acting chief.
Right.
We'll have to have Paul on. And then it was
Is
me.
he still around?
I think he's still an investigator, part-time investigator for the DA's office.
Oh, okay. Because he was he went
Yes.
to town Ulster chief of police. I thought he retired and moved out of
He
town.
did, but then he came back part-time. But Paul Watzke and I are now leading the investigation into this second death. And it was all very circumstantial evidence that it was Whitehurst, because he had a brother and other people that had access to this same apartment where we found the remains of this young lady. I remember her name, but I will not repeat it.
Yeah.
Out of sensitivity.
I remember the name too. The only reason I brought that up is I had the names wrong, and I'm glad that you corrected me on that. So.
But in essence, what happened was we're determining how to do this very in-depth investigation into a suspect that was already facing the death penalty.
Right.
I called Dr. Bodden. I said, and he was the state police principal medical examiner. He was big time. I said, Doc, this is Don Williams. You may not. And he goes, I definitely remember you because we had done cases before, but he's done many. He came down. We went to the scene. It was Thanksgiving Day. And then he helped me and Paul Watzke to lead the investigation. He was just a solid, incredibly highly qualified guy. And I'm not sure if he's still doing it, but what a bright, good man, other than the fact that he introduced me as Donnie.
And then you reciprocated with Mikey.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that again. But
It's all good. But you take it, you guys are still friends to this day, but you haven't spoken with him in a
I
while.
haven't spoken. He did when I was the judge. I was trying a murder case, and Carnwright, the
Holly.
former district attorney, Holly, called Dr. Bodden as a witness. Now, remember, as a judge, you have to be completely impartial.
Right.
You cannot...
Even though you know this guy.
You cannot, especially in front of the jury, because the one person that the jurors see above the fray
Is you.
the prosecutor, defense attorney, or
Right. And you're the one that's sitting high
you're the one that has to demonstrate, especially to the jury, complete impartiality. Right. If you show some type of bias or partiality to a witness, to a lawyer, you're the one person that the jurors are looking to, and they look at you. They study you.
Right.
And if they see you leaning one way or the other, you really can do harm to
you
either side getting a fair trial.
You might sway the
so
case
you
that way.
fight so hard. So when Dr. Bodden came in, he's called up to the witness stand. We were in the ceremonial courtroom, and you could see the first time he saw me as a judge, he always saw me as a prosecutor or the district attorney. And he started smiling, and I'm actually looking away from him so the jurors would not see an interaction. He gets done with his testimony. He's out in the lobby. I take a break. I'm walking out of the courtroom, and there, not in front of the jury, but in front of several other people, he gives me this big hug, and I'm going, Doc, you can't. As much as I appreciate the affection, and he was saying, I'm so proud of you. I said, that is so good, but we really shouldn't be doing it right outside of the jury deliberation.
Yeah. You know what show you would like? I don't know. You maybe even watch it. Do you have Showtime? I'm sure you have.
I have it. I don't watch it.
Well, you should. There's a show on there called Billions.
Okay.
Season 6 is garbage. It sucks. Don't even bother watching it. But the show's been on for years. But the show's basically about the Southern District of New York trial lawyer Paul Giamatti. Yeah, well, it's about this guy going after hedge funds and stuff. But Paul Giamatti plays the U.S.
Oh, he's a good actor.
He plays what Giuliani used to have. He runs the Southern District of New York.
Sure.
But he reports to the AG
Is he the U.S. attorney? Reports
he's the U.S. attorney. He's the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York.
And so they all report to the U.S. attorney.
Now, there's also an Eastern District. There's also a Northern District in Albany. But the Southern District is the one that handles everything.
I don't think there's a Western District.
No, there's only 3 in New York.
There's a
Eastern,
Southern,
and a Northern in Albany. Yeah, it's weird.
Basically Albany and
it's weird.
Syracuse.
Right, but those 3 attorneys, U.S. attorneys, they report to the Attorney General. The Attorney General reports to the President, obviously. But Paul Giamatti plays, a ruthless prosecutor who's just out for justice. And I'm telling you,
there's nothing ruthless about that.
Well, no, I mean
he's aggressive
smart,
and hard-nosed.
No, and he went to Yale Law. I mean, first of all, he's a great actor.
He is a great actor.
Seasons 1 through 5 were great, but now Damian Lewis, his wife died. He's not on the show anymore.
Billions. And do you think it's close to reality?
Yes.
Because the Law and Order, to me,
you got to watch it. I'm telling you. And then it's not just about the Southern District of New York office. It's about judges, and the way they say that is there's a episode from season 3 or 4, because it's now into their 6th season. Season 6 is airing now. It's absolutely terrible. Watch seasons 1 through 5. You'll love it. It's kind of like you'll sit down and probably watch 2 or 3 a day because it's that good. But what was his name? The guy that played Goose in Top Gun, Anthony.
Oh, I don't know the name. I know the actor. Okay.
So he is on one of the shows, and he's playing a judge, a crooked judge. And Paul Giamatti goes in there to pull his card, and he goes, I hope, Anthony Edwards says to him, I hope you're not here to trifle me or rifle me on the ruling of such case. He's like, no, that's in the past. He's like, I'm here to, screw you on something else. And he mentions the fact, he's like, sometimes I tend to lean juries the other way if I, blah, blah. And when you just said that, he was like, when you said I have to sit high above that, excuse me. Okay. And when I heard you say that, I was like, oh, so that's what had, his name is Chuck Rhodes in the show. I was like, oh, that's what had Chuck so mad. So that's what made me bring up Billions. If you get some time.
Well, I have time now. Being retired is certainly an eye.
Well, I happened to drive by on Mountain View the other day. I was up in your neighborhood, window shopping in the old neighborhood. Well, not a realtor mentioned that.
Oh, you're looking for a house?
I have been for 2 years, but when the market spiked right before COVID,
Judge Feeney's house, which is down the block,
$735,000.
$719,000.
Oh, $719,000.
It was listed at $735,000, sold for $719,000.
Okay, I thought Courtney said she got
oh, maybe more.
On the house 5 days. It was gone in 5 days.
Was it that quick?
Yeah, and they had to. And now.
Judge Feeney.
Mary Jane couldn't move into. She's moving into Courtney's place in Riverview
until such time.
Right. Courtney. Yeah, and Courtney couldn't get the people out of there until June.
Now, for the listening audience, this is Courtney is the daughter.
She's the middle daughter.
And Mary Jane is the wife.
Is Judge Feeney's wife. Right.
The late Ted Feeney, who was What a great man. He was the judge
I
at
grew up on Mountain
City
View Avenue.
Court for life.
City Court for life.
He lived approximately four
Huge Giant fan.
houses. Yes, he was.
Oh my God, huge Giant fan. Good dude.
Great. He was a great guy. And boy, what a decent he was. We had I think I was DA at the time. Ted Feeney was city court judge, and it was somebody by the name of Ed Brown who was employed by the county, and we had the first drug court. And you know what a tough...
Oh, yeah, that's right. He was the one that ran her to drug court.
He ran the drug. The three of us. It was mainly Ed Brown that really initiated this. Right. It was first called the Community Corrections Program, which was...
CCP.
CCP. Yeah. And basically it was a facility, a dormitory connected to the jail, but more of a
beds.
Dormitory, 16 beds, where individuals that committed nonviolent, drug-related crimes... Second chance, sometimes a third chance, as long as they were not dealers. So, in essence, that really existed before any other drug court.
So what was the
outside of New York
CCP
City
building?
Community Corrections Program.
Right, but that was next to the Ulster County Jail.
I think it used to be the garage. It was converted.
Really? Because it was a small building.
It was converted.
It was also
into
housed
a
as Ulster
dormitory.
County, the parole department. You would go to visit for parole there as well. And
So in essence, what
and now what's up there? What is Golden Hills
I
used
think
for now?
I don't.
Well, I mean, I know the health department is, the Ulster County Mental
Yes.
is still there, but what is actually where the Ulster County Jail is,
I
and where
don't
CCP is not still used?
No,
CCP is
we
closed
have
now.
we have drug court. That ultimately would happen is
'Cause
the
Antonelli used
Office
to
of
run
Court Administration. Kelly Antonelli was wonderful.
Yes.
She was in charge
I know
of
her
the.
son Steve.
Oh, I didn't know.
He's my age.
Kelly it was actually Charlene Capolino.
Okay, she was the head.
She was the head of the alternative.
Kelly's like the one that was there
incarceration
like every day, like running.
Kelly.
She was nice.
Kelly also was. She was when I was DA. She was my crime victims assistant.
Oh, okay.
She was a liaison
So
to.
she had a law degree as well?
No.
Oh, okay.
She was not an assistant district attorney.
okay.
She
She's
just came in and acted and helped.
Right.
DAs, we have to be concerned with victims, but the bulk of your time, assistant DAs and DAs, is getting ready for trial.
Okay. So she's kind of like your paralegal, or is a paralegal
no,
have to
she would
have a law degree?
She would be like a social worker.
Oh, okay.
That actually would be an extension of the assistant DAs to deal directly with the victims when, as much as we'd want to, we didn't have the time to spend with the victims the time they needed.
Right.
So she would help them to coordinate getting them counseling, helping them to explain what would be coming next in the process. The assistant DAs would explain it to the victims, but we just didn't have enough time to spend with them.
Right.
Kelly Antonelli was a great lady.
Yeah.
I think she is either married or living with Matt Sperring, who was...
That name I don't know.
Matt was a former editor for the Kingston Daily Freeman and one of the finest reporters, along with Tom Wakeman. There was another individual... Oh, I can't... I said one of the finest reporters.
Okay.
Hugh was
around tomorrow, actually.
Hugh had his own niche, and he was very good at it.
Did you read his last? Do you read the Kingston Wire at all? Did you read his last article?
Once in a while, when he tells me to read it, I read it.
Yeah, I've been reading his articles lately. He's had some good ones in there. He doesn't leave anything out. That's for sure.
Let me put it this way: I now can speak about this because my former wife, who was a great lady, is deceased. I was up for my third term as district attorney, and I made the decision at that point I had enough of politics. And as much as a DA cannot be a politician, and as much as I fought it, when you have to run for office every 4 years, it's very hard to keep politics out of your decision making. It's very hard.
Right.
And I tried so hard. But up to my third term, for that reason, many other reasons, I decided I'm going to go to private practice. I'm going to get independently wealthy,
Right.
and now spend some time with my family.
Right.
My wife also had previously been misdiagnosed with breast cancer.
Okay.
And it was one of the most horrible things that we, and especially she, experienced.
They told her
in
she
her
had
life.
breast cancer. She
A
didn't.
Local breast oncologist, as a result of ultrasounds and an MRI, and in defense of this doctor, she had all of the outward manifestations. She had a history in the family of breast cancer, and the tumor that was in her breast had all of the outward manifestations of cancer. And it had, because of the history of breast cancer, she was examined every 6 months. And this came out of nowhere. So that doctor, and I remember my wife coming back after an appointment with her saying, I have this aggressive form of breast cancer, but it's incurable. I said, hold on. So I went for a visit myself, went through the whole situation, and there was a period of time until we went up to Albany. That was it with this doctor, and had it biopsied.
Right.
Thank God it came back as benign.
Oh, good.
But the word was out
that
she had been diagnosed with breast cancer. And I remember a reporter for the Freeman, when I made the decision I was not running, had heard it. And I said, to begin with, please understand that it ended up that it was benign. And he said to me, so you're telling me that was not a consideration? I said, it was not the principle. And I said, I will tell you this off the record. My wife is past that. I can remember her lying on the sofa with my daughter.
Right.
And thinking, I'm not going to be here to watch my 2 kids grow.
Right, because she thought it was
she
aggressive
was
at the
devastated.
time. Yeah, I bet. And then to find out that it wasn't even
right.
true.
And then
it was probably even more of a kick in the...
It was a credible relief, but the trauma that she went through.
Right, for those periods.
And we tried to move past it. Now, honestly, was it a part of the consideration? Yes, it wasn't the reason. And I would never explain that, never let it be known public that it would be the reason. So he said, this reporter said, you've always been honest before. I said, I will tell you, yes, but this got to be completely off the record. I said, I will tell you, yes, it was part of the consideration at the time, but it was not the reason. There were many other reasons, principally because I had had enough of the politics.
Right.
And I wanted to now live a normal life with my kids, with my family, and get wealthy. I was...
Right, you were here serving the community. Right.
And now it was about my family.
Right.
So that got out. The article came out. The article mentioned nothing about it because the reporter had promised me, but word got out to the Freeman. Hugh ran in his column that one of the principal reasons.
Oh.
And
now I know.
I went ballistic. I invoked, remember I've told you, one of the things I used to speak to the leadership committee, the first rule that I always try to abide with is the 24-hour rule. Never respond to anything that you have passion about or emotional about for at least 24 hours.
Right.
You'll still address it,
right,
but you will address it in a more calm manner.
After you think about
especially
it.
when you are a leader in the community.
Right.
In this case, I was so incensed and my wife was so angry, the 24-hour rule was 4 days.
Wow.
Now, Hugh Reynolds, my wife, and I, and many others go to a birthday party for a mutual friend, Mary Ann Marchetti. And I had calmed down at this point.
Right, because it was 4 days later.
My wife had not. My wife was such a class act. She would always defer to the politics, my office. She always deferred her career to me. And to the community. She made sacrifices and my kid made sacrifices. They did not make that choice. I did.
Right.
They followed it and they were great with it. But she saw Hugh and she got in Hugh's face.
Like right up
and
his
I
face?
have to admit, I really like Hugh. I have to admit, I was enjoying every second
I mean,
of it.
she put her,
And indeed, they stopped it for a sec. And Hugh was initially, he handled it well. Initially, he tried to make light of it. And then that made her angrier.
Right.
There was a break to introduce Mary Ann Marchetti, the birthday girl. Everything stopped for a little bit. As soon as that was over and we did the toast to Mary Ann, she got
Right
back
back.
at Hugh's
She went
face.
right back.
And I have to admit, I love
rest
bringing
in
it
peace,
to his
Ann.
attention. She's a great lady.
Well, listen, I think I just heard the door open. I think I'm going to bring David Clegg in. I know
Sounds
you're
good.
tired of talking to me.
No, never.
Dave, are you out here? How are you, buddy? Come on in. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Sure.
We've lost all our guests today because I would imagine the St. Patrick's Day thing is a...
Yeah. But you have the green tie.
I got a tie.
See the green tie. Good for you, Dave.
get the tie.
Always a pleasure. District Attorney David Clegg. You know, it's such a good feeling to call somebody else that. Thank you again for coming, and I know you've agreed to either yourself or to send an assistant to come on once a month, and it's deeply appreciated. So.
Well, I think it's a great opportunity for the community to learn more about our office.
You know something, and Dave, I agree 100%, because it's amazing that the community doesn't truly understand, number one. They don't, some members of the community, and it's not as a result of ignorance in any fashion,
Right.
they just don't know this.
Sure.
We take it for granted.
Right.
They sometimes don't know the distinction between a district attorney and a county attorney. When they hear the term public defender, they think the individual is defending the public. Now, there are defending individuals charged with crimes for the public, but so it's great that you and your staff has agreed to come on so that you can explain a little bit about that to the public.
Sure.
I saw you yesterday. I went in to return the portrait I had taken off the wall of Judge Vogt, because my portrait has to go up in the court. And as you know, for many different reasons, I don't personally want to go into that courtroom, at least in the vast number of cases. But I had to have a portrait up. I've forgotten. They hang all of the judges. In fact, there's a judge that used to be right next to me from the bench that went back to like the 1800s.
Wow.
The first county court judge.
Wow.
You're talking about a hanging judge. I used to look at this guy and say, well, suddenly I look like Casper Milquetoast. But so my portrait has to go up. So I was returning judge votes and bringing the replacement for the district attorney's wall, which you should get a portrait up there now, by the way.
Isn't that after you leave you get that?
You know, you can put it up initially and you just leave a blank for...
Right. How long?
How long?
Okay.
And I remember Mike Kavanaugh had his up initially for 20 years while I waited for him to leave, for God's sake. He had his up.
He
with the
did,
blank.
okay.
And
Okay.
I had, mine was off. And as you know, I've had some health-related concerns. I took it out sometime before some treatment that was happening down south, and I didn't get around to replacing it. My old one was a photo of me, Dave, from I think many, many years ago.
Right.
I'm next to Frank Vogt and Jack St. John and D.A. Corwin and Kavanaugh, and all of these guys look distinguished and older. And I look like this kid out of law school. I said, yeah, you know, it's a nice photo of me because it's younger, but so I wanted to replace it. I finally got around to do this because a good friend of mine, Ian Harwitz, when I took the photograph off to have it replaced with a more recent photo, the one outside of the DA's office, I didn't get around to it for a while. It was 2 or 3 minutes that there was this blank where my photo used to be with the hanger, but no photo. Horowitz, my good friend from J&A Roofing, had somebody go in and take a photo of it on his cell phone, and he sent it to me saying how quickly the mighty have fallen. Somebody took your photograph off the wall. He didn't know it was me.
Yes, of course.
So I said, yeah, they forget about you instantly. But I had to get it back.
Yeah,
so I was there yesterday and got the privilege of seeing you. And then you had to ask me to leave your office because I got stuck on the second floor with Chief Assistant DA.
That was nice to see. That was nice to see.
I loved it. Gave him a big hug. And what a good man.
Emmanuel Nagy may be the hardest working person I've ever come across. He is so diligent, so committed, so decent in everything he does. I'm just honored to work alongside of him.
Dave, that's a great thing to say. And just briefly, let me give a history of Emmanuel, and then I'd like you to talk about what the chief assistant does, what his role is, how he serves the community and the DA. And then some of the things now that Emmanuel and your office are facing with the murder cases coming up that we spoke about.
Yes.
Emmanuel is the very heart and soul of what an African American truly is. He was born and raised in Nigeria. Emmanuel has the tribal scars to reflect his upbringing. And for some reasons couldn't quite figure out, I was still Mike Kavanaugh's chief assistant, the slot that Emmanuel has now. Emmanuel put himself, he had no connections with the United States. Apparently he said he read something about New Paltz University in a magazine. He comes to the States, puts himself through college and then law school, I believe at Buffalo, by flipping burgers.
That's right.
And he's a young black man with a law degree now, comes back to Ulster County because of his connections with New Paltz. He could write his own ticket, as you know. You were formerly in private practice. A black lawyer in Ulster County at a time there were not nearly enough black lawyers. He could have been one of the wealthiest young men because he's a great lawyer. Instead, he wanted to be an assistant DA, and I'll let you speak about that. Because he wanted to do something for the community and because he morally believed in justice. He walked into my office to interview for the job, and I said, whoa, what a find this is. I didn't make those decisions, but Mike would have me screen people out. Sure. And I said to him honestly, I said, Emmanuel, the work here as an assistant DA, it is intense, it is fulfilling, but you will not have much of a life. You've got to really sacrifice your own life. And the pay, and especially back then, Dave, it's gotten better, but it still doesn't
meet the demand. Yes.
Doesn't meet and it doesn't address what assistant DAs do. But I said, man, you can write your own ticket. He goes, I can't do a Nigerian accent.
No.
But I want to be an assistant district attorney. And I said, that'd be great. Let me speak to Mike. Walked into Mike's office. Mike came in. 5 minutes, he was hired.
Yeah.
He became my chief assistant at one point. And then now he's your chief. So please, explain what the chief assistant does. Anything else you want to talk about Emmanuel? He's just such a great, great man.
Sure. You know, the great thing about Emmanuel now as the chief assistant is that he has the collective belief of everybody in this office in his integrity and his decency and his feeling of justice. You know, it's a great starting point. He obviously is our most experienced trial lawyer, our most experienced DA. He has tried cases over 30 years.
Yes.
And so he was carrying one of the heaviest loads in the office. And
the number of cases that actually litigate.
That's right.
And you have, I know the indictment numbers are down principally because of COVID, but your office, if I recall when I was DA and judge, there are approximately around 1,200 felonies committed a year within Ulster County.
That's right.
And combined with misdemeanors, and your responsibility is to prosecute, as you see appropriate, those 1,200 felonies in addition to approximately 3,000 misdemeanors and then violations on top of that.
That's right.
So how many assistants, full-time assistants, do you have working?
Well, right now it's 17 full-time.
And you have an opening for?
We have, but we're not fully staffed right now. We have 2 openings, as we talked about.
For full-time assistant DAs?
Full-time assistant DAs.
Which they have to handle. And you, in essence, you can't supervise individually every case, but you're responsible to supervise all of those prosecutions.
Yes.
And to see that justice is done on all of those prosecutions, which doesn't mean the number of notches you get on your gun belt for guilty convictions.
That's right.
Instead, justice means ensuring that innocent people that are charged with crimes, and it does happen, are not unjustly prosecuted, and that individuals that even committed crimes are prosecuted in a just and fair fashion.
Yeah, we're focused on those cases where the public safety is at risk. Those are the cases we try and make sure, one, we prosecute successfully, convict, and some of those folks have to go to state prison, right?
They do.
They do.
And it's not easy to do.
It's not.
They have to.
That's right.
They have to not, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, and you've lived the same life. I understand.
Have.
Yes.
Not to punish them.
That's right.
Necessarily. Punishment is part of the equation.
Right.
But it's to be a deterrent to them and others that are contemplating committing that type of violent crime or serious crime.
And that's what you want to accomplish, right? So when we have weapons possession, we take it very seriously right now. And it's a great problem out in the community. Unfortunately, drugs and guns go together. There's too many guns out there. We've gone through a spate of shootings. That has reduced. We've had more murders in the last 2 years than I think ever before in Kingston. That leads to a great deal of work in my office. As you know, a murder case is probably 10 times the effort of any other case because of the complexity and the amount of evidence.
With maybe the exception of child abuse cases.
Child abuse cases.
Also are very time-consuming because all the time that has to be spent with
the victim.
Children, the victims.
Yeah.
But murders are so complicated.
They are, and they're more complicated than ever in terms of evidence because now we have cell phones and we have body cams and we have a tremendous amount of digital information that goes into every case.
And you have the new discovery provisions.
Yes, we
that
do.
Didn't exist for the 30 years that I was an assistant DA and DA that requires you to provide all of that information at literally the earliest stages in the proceeding.
Within 20 to 35 days of the arraignment.
And that puts because your office is responsible for that. Even though you're not gathering it, it could be the town of Shangam Police Department that does it.
Right.
Your office becomes responsible to do that.
We are assumed to have all the information of every law enforcement agency in this county at our fingertips. And of course, we have the cooperation of every law enforcement agency, but it's still a mountain to climb both for them and for us in every case.
And especially because the discovery provisions and all criminal law is so complicated even for lawyers to understand. Now, especially with these new discovery provisions, the police must also understand it. And you can teach these folks at the same time. That is a huge burden. And if you do not follow the law, which you're obligated to follow as a matter of your oath and what's morally proper, if you don't follow it, then you are looking at sanctions. Not personally, not what's happened to Putin, but you may lose evidence.
You could lose evidence. The problem, and it's a bit of a trap situation in that if there's something that isn't provided, we have to do what's called a certificate of compliance when we've given everything that we possibly can that we know of. And if it turns out that somebody missed something and the defense attorney waits until the speedy trial time has run, there can be an argument that that was illusory and therefore undone, in which case we have a speedy trial issue.
Which means not only losing the evidence being potentially suppressed, which means basically for legal reasons a judge will say you cannot put that evidence, even if it's a confession, in front of the jury. Jury can never hear about it. Never. On top of that now, and the knowledge that police have becomes imputed to the DA. Whether you know it or not, you're responsible to know it.
That's right.
That is such a dangerous, because my feeling, as a DA especially, you're an advocate, but as a judge, is the jury should hear the facts and the truth. And the difference between New York State and the federal law under the United States Constitution, New York State courts have extended more rights to defendants, and even the United States Supreme Court has said. So even if it's a good faith error made by the police or the DA, if they find that it technically violates beyond what the United States Constitution says, that evidence can be suppressed, which means a jury will never hear it.
So, it's quite a job right now.
It is.
Quite a job right now. There's a lot of pressure.
And you've
a lot of
stepped into
volume.
it, Dave. We've talked about this. Look,
yeah.
I remember when you contemplated running for DA, and we had conversations. I thought I was still running for judge, in fact, but we had talked about it. And I said, do you really want this? I mean, there is nothing more fulfilling in life, even being a judge, than being the district attorney of the county that you live in. Nothing more fulfilling. But I think I told you, Dave, you're an experienced, excellent trial lawyer, one of the best I ever met. And I mean that sincerely. And I know that not just from private practice. I also know it because we tried a case together,
yes,
a
we
major
did.
arson. And but I said, the stress, because I know you're a person of faith, a good person, and I know you're going to jump in head over heels. And I said, are you sure you want this? And you said, yes, I do.
Right.
I remember that.
Right. Challenges are good, and being able to be part of a system that you think we can improve in some ways. The thing that I believe our administration has added to the office is all the work in restorative justice and diversion programs, and working with the trying to divert people with addiction into treatment. And
nonviolent people that are not a direct threat of violence in the community.
And we have to draw that line. With drug addiction, there's a lot of addicts out there that are selling a little bit here, selling a little bit there to maintain their habit.
Yes,
right.
To support their own addiction. Right.
And then there are people who are dealing in fentanyl and killing people and causing overdoses. And you have to draw that line. That's the discretion the DA has.
Hard to do. The DA has, no matter what is charged, either by the police or in some cases by the DA's office itself, typically the police, the district attorney, with some restrictions, but those restrictions are limited. It's the district attorney's responsibility, because you have full discretion to determine whether the case gets prosecuted at all, and if you do prosecute it, how aggressively and to what extent. And then you have a series of felonies that are nonviolent by their nature, such as drug possession or drug sales. The sale of a drug under New York state law is not just giving for the purpose of getting money back. It's simply giving. If somebody gives an illegal drug to a friend, that's a sale. And that's charged as a sale. You have to look at that and make a determination, what is justice here for the individual and also for the community.
That's right.
Tough call.
That balance.
Tough call.
Yeah. You try and make it right. We've got the cooperation of the sheriff's office. They've got the Oracle program going on. So they go to the site of overdoses, work with the people, bring peers in for counseling, offer treatment, offer support. Our county is doing a very good job of treatment at this point in time. Still got a long ways to go, but we're doing a very good effort at making sure that we have giving people access to treatment if and when they're open to it.
So you're using that, I hate using the term power, but it's power.
Mm-hmm.
You're using the power of your discretion to, number one, make sure that people that commit nonviolent crimes have the ability, the motivation to get back on the right path and to be contributing members of the community, while at the same time using your judgment, your experience, the help of all of these other agencies and entities to target those individuals that are true threats to the community.
That's right.
And if it means locking them up, you lock them up.
Right. And if it means, as we did, convicting somebody for manslaughter for causing the overdose death of somebody because they had fentanyl in the heroin they were selling, and they knew that it was dangerous. In fact, that was a selling point to the drug. This is so powerful. Other people have overdosed, and unfortunately, with addiction, sometimes the most powerful drug is what people are looking for. So that combination of intent and knowledge, along with the fact that you killed somebody as a result of taking drugs, is allowed us to do that for the first time in the history of Ulster County.
Not with fentanyl. There was one other case where heroin sale was laced, and I can't remember what the drug was. It was before fentanyl that the people were prosecuted for manslaughter, but yours is the first for fentanyl. And so people understand, if the intent was there, why not prosecute murder? Well, what you had in that case, as I recall, it wasn't the dealer's intention to kill the person.
No.
When they gave them cocaine or heroin laced with fentanyl. But, so you couldn't prosecute for murder.
No, certainly not. But, it's recklessly causing the death, right?
Which means being aware
That's right.
Significant risk that death could result.
Yes.
And ignoring that risk for their own personal profit.
And in order to do that, you have to have the proof that that person knew of the consequences of the drugs that they were dealing.
Which is difficult to do, but apparently, I think as you said, in this case, you had him making a statement.
Well, we had
prior to the sale or
we
during
had
the sale?
phone information, which is what the new world is. Cell phones have a lot of information about what's going on and the communication between the people he was selling it to and what he was saying to those people.
And that's what allowed you, but that's good work to be able to obtain, whether there are text messages or telephone conversations. The police and you did that good work to obtain it, which now takes a simple sale of cocaine, which could be sometimes not even any prison, and make it a manslaughter because that person was aware of the risk. He could kill somebody, and he went and did it anyway. That's a great prosecution.
Yeah.
What kind of sentence did that person ultimately get? And I know the sentence isn't your determination; it's the judge's, but
6 years in jail.
That's a good shot.
Yes.
Some people may say it could be longer, could be harder. You also have to take into consideration the victim's family, what they want. Do they want to go through an ordeal of a trial? And then the other thing is, so you save putting the victim's family through the ordeal of a trial. You also save the possibility of losing the case or having it reversed for some legal technicality. But you don't determine the sentence. It's the judge that ultimately determines the sentence. You can make a recommendation.
That's right.
But the judge has the right to approve it or say no.
And as you say, in a case like that, which was true, the parents of the person who died were intimately involved in all the decisions made in the case. And they were very sweet people. They really appreciated all the effort that we made to do this.
First time in Ulster County, Dave, with fentanyl.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're good people. And it had to both make the decision so difficult for you, and I'm sure it caused you many nights that were sleepless, but at the same time, there truly is no better feeling that I had as an assistant or as DA, and I'm sure you share it, than being able to tell the family he's going to be held responsible, we're going to keep you advised, and you will have input in every decision that's made. Is there no greater feeling, honestly, in life other than the birth of your child than basically to tell these people justice is getting done?
Right. And you want to be able to support them because they're grieving, right? They're going through the worst thing that any parent can go through. So, yeah, we're there for them at every level, and it is rewarding when you accomplish what you need to accomplish for their interests and the communities.
And it's something that they will never get over that. And I remember I used to tell them that you'll never get past this. At the same point, you must move on in memory of your child. And the first step in them healing is to see the person held accountable.
Yes.
And to do it without going through the ordeal of a trial. It really is, it's one of the most difficult things that a DA must do. If you think the person deserves more of a sentence, and that's a difficult call by itself, But at the same point, you have to take into consideration not only the safety of the community, but the feelings of the victim.
Without question. And in the area of special victims, where there's children involved.
Say child abuse.
Sure. That's a very, very difficult trial.
And why is that, Dave? And obviously I can articulate, but why do you?
You have to re-traumatize the child. And you have to put the child, obviously, it's not easy for anybody to be a witness at a trial.
One of the most difficult things any individual can possibly do, whether you're a victim of a crime or a police officer or an assistant DA, to testify at a trial.
Yes, and to be subjected to cross-examination with somebody who potentially has abused you or harmed you very seriously, and to confront them in that situation with a child that could be 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 years old. That's a very difficult task to ask somebody to go through.
And it's in 95% of the cases, the victim of child abuse is a necessary witness. You cannot prosecute unless that child testifies. Now, there are some exceptions that we did, but again, those are rare exceptions. If you have a confession and you can independently corroborate
by some other means, right?
Either by forensic examinations, but that is not that frequent. You typically have to have the victim testify, and and you have the power to compel the testimony.
Right.
But try sleeping at night when you force a child victim to take the stand, knowing that they will be additionally traumatized. Though I think they were the toughest calls.
Yes. We've been fortunate in the cases that we've had recently to get pleas with significant sentences where there's been sexual abuse of a person under the age of 12. Someone recently got 18 years in prison for that.
That's a good sentence. Right. A just sentence, but a good sentence. And so people understand it's so confusing about sentencing. If it's a nonviolent crime, and somebody, for example, gets 2 1/3 to 7 years in prison, even before they reach the 2 1/3 portion, they're eligible to get out. And they never have to serve, with some exceptions, more than 1/3 of the sentence. But on a case like you had, the child abuse case, which I imagine for an 18-year sentence, it's a definite sentence.
Yes.
It's a violent crime. They have to serve 6/7 of that sentence.
That's right.
They're not eligible for parole until they serve 6/7 of that sentence. And I shouldn't say this. I got in trouble once as a judge for somebody that had violated numerous children, was a member of the North American Man-Boy Love Association, NAMBLA. And I said something to the respect of, the sentence I give today cannot adequately address what you did, but you're going to be spending the next 20, 25 years in prison. You have to serve 6/7 of that. And let me explain to you what I can't do to you today, others will take care of. Shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, probably shouldn't have. But it's true.
It's true, because when you are labeled
right
as a child abuser, that time you serve is devastating. So anyway, it's great to hear you say that. It's also tough, Dave. It's tough as district attorney. It's even tougher for the judge, to be honest, as far as the sentencing itself. It's a just sentence, but when you know you're taking a young man, sometimes young woman, and these are young people typically.
Yes.
And you're locking them up for 15, 18, 20 years in an 8x10 cell, taking out the bulk of their life. That's not... I know my reputation. It's deserved. I worked hard to get that reputation. But it's not easy to do. But you know you don't have a simple task.
Right.
And you've accepted that.
You have to shoulder that responsibility. And, once again, we always balance justice with the community the victims, and with justice for the defendant. All three of those have to be paid attention to. And justice for the defendant is to make sure that no one ever gets convicted who hasn't committed the crime, and that whatever the sentence is, it's fair based upon their history, where they've come from, and the possibility that they might be rehabilitated through some means or other. We take that into consideration before we reach that final decision about what we recommend for a sentence.
And people don't understand that. And I used to tell the assistant DAs when I was a judge and DA, when they came into the court, I would tell them two things. Number one, I would say, you're not here to get notches on your gun. Mm-hmm. You have to be aggressive and fight for the case as much as you can, but the case is about doing justice.
Yes.
The second thing I would say, and I'm going to put you on the spot about this, Justice Jackson made a statement about what a real prosecutor is. I invite every member of the public that has a chance to go into that beautiful and historic courthouse, go to the lobby of the district attorney's office. That plaque was immediately outside of the entrance to your office, Dave. That was there in 1979 when I began it.
Was it?
And I was really happy when I went back to hang my
your picture, yes.
I was really happy to see that it's still there. And everybody, it's a much better than I could possibly do describing what the role of a prosecutor is. This time has, please go and look at it. And I know you're aware of it, but go back and look at it again. We have less than a minute. When you're here, the time flies.
Well, we have history together.
Yeah, we really do.
We really do.
Going back to that arson, which was how many years ago?
It had to be early 90s.
It was a long time. Please, Dave, in the remaining roughly 30 seconds, would you like to leave the audience with anything in particular you'd like to say?
I hope that everybody's confident that our office, one, we're working night and day to keep them safe. The people in my office, as I've told you, are working harder now than they ever have in their entire career. We have attorneys like Emmanuel who've been here for 30 years, but because of the caseloads that built up from the pandemic where the courts were closed for 9 months, and as you say, we still get 1,000 felonies coming in while there's no court to unravel those cases.
Felonies
and so
didn't stop.
Nothing stopped. So that they're all working extremely hard. I can tell you, from the bottom of my heart that they are dedicated to, one, preserving the public safety to every possible extent we can, and at the same time, make sure that we are just in every case that we handle, and that we provide opportunities for people to find redemption, to find rehabilitation, to find treatment, to find a way to get to a place where they now are productive in our community.
And I can tell you, Dave, and I've said it to you personally, I'm not just doing this as quickly as I can. I went through it for 40 years. I'm confident in what you're doing there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks again for coming.
It's my pleasure. And you take care, too.
All right, David Clegg, thank you again. Don Williams, thank you once again. Another excellent job. Me and Don will be back next week. Tomorrow, tune in for Hugh Reynolds and Mario Catalano. Have a great day, everyone.